Welcome to Awake to Oneness Radio. I am Caroline Chang, your host. The mission of Awake to Oneness Radio is to inspire the world to awaken to the universal truth of oneness. Science is now teaching us that everything is energy, and that energy is interconnected and interdependent. That energy is all one. So in truth, we are all one and connected to each other with this energy. And basically, to look at it from a layman's term, what you do to another person, you're literally doing to another aspect of yourself. Now, ancient wisdom and spirituality has been teaching the truth of oneness for eons. So science is just now catching up, but it's not new science. This science is over 100 years old. Quantum entanglement and the unified field theory has been around for close to 100 years. So we're not even talking new science. So when humanity awakens to the universal truth of oneness, there will be peace on earth. Today's show topic is Expand with Julius with Kasey and Brad Wallis. Welcome, Kasey and Brad, to Awake to Oneness Radio.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you.
It is fantastic to be here. We love
what a great opening.
Yeah,
huh? Fabulous.
Yeah, fantastic. Because Julius supports both the intermingling of the scientific theories and the spiritual theories. That they support that they are all the same thing. Yeah. And so we love it mostly because it appeals pretty much to everybody's mindful thinking, no matter which direction they lean towards. Right. So it's wonderful.
Yes. I actually, it was science. It was quantum physics that woke me up to the truth of oneness. What the bleep do we know? I don't know if you're familiar with that documentary, but I saw that in 2007. And that's when the light bulb went off for me. Inside of me, oneness, I understood it at a heartfelt level, not an intellectual level, but I understood it in here, in the heart, which is much more intelligent than the brain. But so it was science that woke me up, and I had been studying spirituality off and on, but science was the science that made me understand oneness, made everything so clear for me. So please, before we dive in, because I know we can dive in deep real before we dive in, because I want my audience, my listeners, who may not be aware of who you guys are, Brad and Kasey, please share with our listeners your journey.
Well, how long has it been? 11 years now?
Yeah.
A little over 11 years. I was in a car accident, and the medicine that they prescribed to me, I overdosed and left this planet, Earth, and had the opportunity, the fabulous opportunity, life-changing opportunity to visit with a group of beings who have been human themselves. And we sat down and talked. I was legally dead I would have been considered legally dead for 8 hours as they tried to revive me and bring me back. And of course, they asked me if I wanted to come back. And I said, yes, I'd love to come back, but I'm only going back if you're coming with me, because ain't nobody ever going to believe my story, especially because where we live, closed-minded people, very religious-based, and I was very much involved in all of that. I was very closed-minded myself. I wouldn't have given anybody 5 minutes of time to have a conversation like this. Yet here I was right in the middle of all of this, and they said they would come back with me. And so when I woke up in the hospital, which shocked everybody, Kasey was there and started trans-channeling them back to me with certain code phrases to remind me that what I had just experienced, I really did experience. And so from there, it's just kind of been nonstop, hasn't it?
Yeah. So just to make clear, Brad and I were not a couple at that time.
Yeah.
I was at the hospital because my daughter worked for Brad.
Oh.
And so this phenomenon was something obviously that drew us together. Julius was able to, Brad suffered a traumatic brain injury during the car accident. So all his facilities were, you know, incapacitated. So he had to learn speech and walk and balance, and his brain, he was diagnosed and told that he would never have enough brain function again to do anything more than pull weeds for a living. And Julius said, well, never mind that. And they started, so the first year was me channeling Julius and getting Brad's brain working again. They worked with him in kind of this really super cool way. Their philosophy was that human beings only use 3 to 10% of their brain, and the rest of it mostly remains dormant. And the extraordinary capacity of the brain, of course, that we all have a little bit of a knowing about, mostly just a theory about.
Right.
And that if they weren't going to focus on reviving the injury, but they were going to focus on activating dormant parts of the brain with Brad.
And just let the injury stay.
Yeah.
You know, just let it heal itself
Right.
in an ongoing process. And
Right.
actually, even today, I still have remnants and still have part of my brain that's bruised because my brain hasn't completely healed in that area. So literally, I wouldn't be able to function if we were still trying to stimulate that part of the brain. So we figured out a way to circumvent that bruise and activate other parts of my brain. And so it's just been one roller coaster ride after another.
Now, the way they did that, Caroline, is through extraordinary mind expanding conversations, literally pushing the parameters of what you think you already know or you don't have the capacity to understand. And they would let Brad initiate a question. Just something that would pop in your head. You know, you're walking around in your yard and you're like, okay, so, you know, is there another dimension around us? And man, they'd fire into that subject matter and they would say to Brad, you know, now think about this, conceptualize this, try to grasp this. His brain he'd get headaches, then he'd go and rest. And so they did this, but the conversations were so expanding that Brad felt like all of this subject matter was relevant to everybody, to get everybody into their power, their superpowers, and their empowerment, and all of their knowing of all that they are. Awesome. And in the meantime, you know, I'm going to work. I'm a hairdresser for, 35 years. I'm going to the hair salon every day, and I'd come and visit Brad, and I'd go into these what I called it, this trans-channeling state where I'm not present, and he'd have all these conversations. And I didn't really believe what he was telling me was going on, so he started tape recording the sessions.
Awesome.
And that freaked me out even more. I mean, then I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm schizophrenic, what, all this.
And at one point, I remember somebody saying later on, after we started talking about it in front of people, there's just no way she knows all that information.
Yeah,
She's just not that smart.
I mean, my girlfriend said to me, I know it was real when I saw you do it because, you're just not that smart. I'm like, thanks. That's validation,
Yes.
But anyway, Brad, part of his therapy, he was encouraged to write a little bit about his experience.
Right.
Publisher was kind of fascinated. He kind of left me out of the book. I didn't really want him to really breach the subject of the fact that I was channeling this group and, kind of how weird that was. So he wrote the books more in a context of a conversation, that he's having with someone or something. Right. The publisher was fascinated when he asked Brad who those conversations were taking place with.
Right.
And said, well, can she do this in front of an audience? Can she get out there and do this? And I said, absolutely not. And he's like, yeah,
you can do this. Come on, we're going.
And so that started the either the insanity of what we do or the bravery of what we do. And so we now facilitate teachings through Julius. We have academies, we have students worldwide, we do live events, we have an extraordinary healing program that Julius has brought forth to us. So we have a facility here. And so 10, 11 years later, this is what we're doing, you know, from this crazy experience.
Yeah, we make a living at it.
Yeah.
And for most people, if you understand that comment, because for some reason, human beings seem to think that in the spirituality business, you shouldn't be making a living being able to do that. You know, that there's other things that you need to be doing, and spirituality is just a byproduct. But I believe what we're doing and what we've been able to accomplish to this point and what we will continue to do is what I tell everybody is we're going to continue to go into the room and turn the light on. And if you decide to follow, fine.
Just get up.
Or even get up.
Just get up. Yeah.
Fine.
Right.
Otherwise, you can just go back to sleep and you can live another life the way you can live your life the way you've been doing it. But if you decide to follow and start asking questions and start pursuing those types of things, then man, let's jump on that train and let's get moving, because we've all been stagnant for so long.
Yeah, and then of course,
I just want to interject here just a little bit. I listen to so many channeled material, and I'm sure Julius is a collective, like
yes.
Abraham and all of that. That I listen to many channel material, and they all encourage, all of the information coming through channels is that we follow our passion, follow our joy, and that will bring us the abundance that we need, whether it be money or whatever, you know, it will. We are always, and I do believe, I take it a step further. I believe in every now moment I'm abundant, because all there is this now moment. In
yes.
that now moment, I have plenty of water, I have a roof over my head, I'm abundant. So that, I say in every now moment I'm abundant, and I know, like I'm doing like you guys. Haven't been doing it, like I said, 4 years now since my son's transition, and it's not financially supporting me right this moment, but there's no way I'm stopping. It's going. I know it will, you know, and beyond, because I have a big vision, a big mission, and I know that vision. Long as you can conceive it, you can achieve it, and just keep on doing, just keep on following that passion and that love and that excitement, and all will fall into place. And the other thing I find that humans have difficulty with, that whole concept, is they don't know what the second step is. Spirit will give us the first step, take this step. And then, but you don't know what the next step. So if you don't see the big picture, you don't take most of them don't take that first step.
Right. Right. What was it? So we have a show on our own network called Extraordinary Experiences, where we talk to people about the thing in their life that really got them shifted. And you made mention of your beautiful, extraordinary son's non-physical transition.
Yes.
And what though about that made you change? What I wonder about that is, did you have communication with him afterwards, or how did you find your own way?
Yes.
Through the dark aspects of just mourning and loss, into knowing that there's more here, and that there's a profound journey for me to deliver the information of more?
Well, here, my story is kind of very unique in the sense I didn't mourn. I didn't grieve, not 1 second. I knew, and because my awakening came before his transition.
Okay.
His transition was in 2014. My awakening came in 2007. But there's a speed bump in the middle. Like doctors were saying about Brad, that he wouldn't be able to do anything but pull weeds. So my son transitioned in 2014, but in 2011, he was deathly ill on life support. December of 2011, and doctors did not think he was going to live because he had pneumonia. And they didn't think his heart was strong enough for him to overcome the pneumonia. They asked me, they took me out of the room. He'd been on life support for about 5 weeks. They took me out of the room and asked me, could they take him off life support? They did not think he was going to make it. Now, I'm fully awake at this time. I know that I'm creating my own reality. I don't blame anybody. I know life goes on. But at that moment, I didn't say to them, but in my head, I'm done. I'm off this. I'll come back another time. Try it again. I'm done. I tried to commit suicide in December 2011 while my son was on life support. Now, I'm going to speed the story up because this show is about you guys. Speed the story up. A week later, I took an overdose of over-the-counter sleeping pills, and I was out for 2.5 days. And I wish I could remember what was, because I know my spirit was doing something. I have no memory of that. But a week later, I was on 24-hour suicide watch. They didn't take my son off life support because I had never given permission. But they let me visit with him an hour a day, supervised visit, and I whispered in his ear. I said, Kyle, his name is Kyle, Kyle, get better so we could both go home. That night, he pulled himself off life support. He pulled out the ventilator. He pulled out the feeding tube, and his vital signs were perfect. The doctors were like, it was like he was never even sick. It was a true medical miracle. And that happened 2.5 years before he transitioned. But when we went home that December, I made a promise to God. I said, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I will never stop thanking you for this miracle. And I keep that promise to this day. So when he actually transitioned 2.5 years later, I was at complete peace. I knew it was his soul's decision.
Right.
I knew it was a soul plan that he and I had made together. And I knew he wasn't going anywhere. He was just leaving that body that wasn't working anymore. But he wasn't gone. So, and I was at complete peace when he actually transitioned.
Yeah. Yeah. When we've always supported also, with all of our experiences of talking with people who've had loss in their life, physical loss in their life. And a good portion of them want some type of validation or confirmation of the ongoingness, of the continuum, of that unbreakable bond.
Yes.
And most human beings get fixed in their mind that that's some sort of hearable and audible communication, with that energy.
The burning bush theory.
That if human beings, oftentimes what severs that communication is that human beings literally dive into a darkened or low energy frequency state of sadness.
Yes.
And they can't get the transmission. Okay.
Exactly.
So they'll often call in people like myself or other mediums and channels to be the facilitator of that communication, because our vibration is up. We're not in the sadness that this other person is.
Right.
So we can provide some information on the communication.
Right.
But when somebody like yourself, because we know a few people who have been brave enough like you to hold their knowing that there is this ongoingness and not disconnect frequency-wise from that being.
Yes.
There is the feeling that they're there, the knowing that they're there, some types of that ongoing communication, which then elevates your experience into your knowing and the connectiveness that in many, 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 many ways, Master, the new experience becomes an even deeper connection between the two. Because without the altered ego of the physical embodiment, the authentic emotional connection has the opportunity to expand itself. And so oftentimes people can know a deeper connection with the soul, or a more intimate and transparent connection with that soul. And in a way that often human beings would judge, but we will not, it's a more fulfilling and satisfying relationship when non-physicality takes place. And to explain that to somebody who's deeply seated in the experience of separation, of the sadness, that wouldn't make any sense to them. But to inspire everyone that the answers are to remain in joy and love despite the illusion and distractions around you. And you will sit in the highest form of consciousness, which will transform your life into fulfillment, is the message that we cannot convey enough. And we are so honored to be in your presence, Master, and be partners with you into this extraordinary information.
Oh, thank you, Julius. I have to let my audience know that was Julius. I don't know exact. I knew when she said master, when Julius said master, and what was coming through, Kasey, was coming through, was Julius. So that is so wow, because it was just like, it just happened seamlessly. Everything Julius just relayed is so, so true. I have a much closer relationship with my son now. He is here. He is the co-host of my show. He told me that. And not only that, I have physical evidence. My son is not gone. I have his voice on tape from his birthday 2 years ago, from my first reading that was gifted to me by a wonderful medium that was a guest on my show. She gifted me a reading, and that was my first ever reading. And Kyle came through, and his voice is on tape. EVP. I'd never heard of EVP, but we have Kyle's voice on tape. So I know without a doubt, I knew it when he transitioned. And now I even have physical evidence of it. And I know, and we are much, much closer now that he is in spirit and I am here. And it's just all great. That is so wonderful. Oh my God.
And then it also aids in the depth of intimacy for all relationships then in your life, that heightened state of appreciation. And just awareness, We've always tried to support with human embodiments that one of the disconnecting factors between low consciousness and high consciousness is whether you're aware or not aware, walking awake or walking in a sleepwalking state.
Yes.
Anything that inspires the awakened state, and then you become this hypersensitive being, mm-hmm. which then adds to the exquisite savoring effect of the ingredients of life. Rather than somebody who's just shoveling the food in their mouth haphazardly just to survive, okay? You get to the extraordinary unctuousness and the depth of the flavoring, and you find that in the relationships in your life and in the experiences of your life.
Well, also, you know, the strange thing is what humans have forgotten throughout all of this, because they're probably saying, well, what, you really want me to savor everything? You want me to be aware? Yes, you do it anyway. You're just not aware of it.
Yes.
So if through practices in your life, you can actually become aware of everything that is going on in your life and everything that's going on around your life, you soon begin to realize that you're the powerful being who you're searching for that's outside of you. It is you who you are actually searching for. And so that's what we teach people, is how to find that, how to recognize that, and to be much more aware in your searching process that it's merely you who you actually are searching for.
Yeah, and of course, honoring everybody else's discoveries for themselves is probably a huge missing component for humans. If you talk to humans, they're like, yeah, I'm cool with finding this, but they're missing the component of allowing. They're missing that component of allowing. We're working on it. We're working on it. And when that allowing happens, as you said at the very beginning of the show, extraordinary honor and compassion happens, and the dissolvement of separation and need to control or manipulate another, or actions of violence, which is somebody who doesn't know how powerful they are, so they have to extract from another in order to feel somehow powerful. They learn to unleash their power, and it's coming. It's coming. It's in the next moment of now. We're right there. We're right there, right?
So true, and it's so true what you just said. I use the term unity within diversity, meaning you don't have to have the same religion, you don't have to have the same beliefs, but you can honor each other. You can share your beliefs and honor. Like I say, I share what resonates as true in my heart, that I know it's true for me. I'm not saying it's true for anybody else. I know what's true for me, and I know where it comes from. It comes from within me. And I encourage people to go within and find that truth that resonates within their heart and live their own truth and allow others to live their
It's
own
the allowing thing. We find, and I'd love to talk, let's talk about a little bit about how to find that authenticity and that alignment inside yourself. But I personally, or we find it fascinating how people have their truths. We love the variety of perspective and how they do God or themselves. Yes. It's inspiring. It's the demonstration of the never-ending expansion of thought or God in the ability of multiplicity simultaneously. Isn't that the most super cool thing ever?
Yeah,
right?
Well, not, for I don't know how many years now, practitioners around the world, spiritual leaders around the world have been preaching that we're all one.
Yes.
Okay, even in your opening statement, you're awakening through, you realize through science, through the energy, that we are all one. Well, when human beings realize, whether it's through science, whether it's through a program, whether it's through what somebody says, when we all start to realize that your neighbor is you just having another experience, then you begin to realize that you can't treat your neighbor a certain way because you're treating yourself that way.
Well, you can, but you experience all the limitations.
But you're going to experience that limitation yourself because it's you just having a different experience.
So we support in our teachings with Julius, Christine, that your soul is the emotional processor of thought, okay? We support that God is all thought possibility. And as a light being, you take that possibility and you expand it through your emotions so that it can be demonstrated in an ongoing state of itself. Mm-hmm. And human beings in many, many cultures, in many, many economic systems, in many, many types of situations for themselves, have really cut themselves off from their emotions. Some of them do them for survival reasons, that it would just be too traumatizing for them to connect with their emotions. Right. But that's the disconnection from the soul, okay? Exactly. Mm-hmm. And to reacquaint our students, number one, with that theory, and then really get them working the emotional experience, letting those emotions come out. Again, recognizing the intricacies of them, the savoring effects of them. Right. And it's amazing how once you allow that process, you are able to feel a thought. In other words, you have a perspective of a thought, you have an opinion of a thought, you have a feeling of a thought. Yes. And we support that truth is the way something feels.
Yes, okay? I agree. I say feeling is how our soul, our higher self, communicates with us. Yes. And when we're pushing away our feelings or ignoring our feelings, we are ignoring our soul and our higher self, because that is how our higher self communicates with us.
Right.
And my definition, definition of God is all that is.
Mm-hmm.
All that is. There's nothing outside of God.
Right.
Everything that exists is God.
Children are usually wonderful demonstrators of emotions.
Yes.
Okay? And of course, adults do their quickest and fastest to stifle all of that, what they deem to be appropriate, what they deem to be, inappropriate. And in many situations, generationally, like with us, our generation has a tendency to even identify certain emotions as either male or female.
Mm-hmm.
Like emotions have genders, okay? And how screwy that is, right?
Yes.
So if you're male, you're allowed to have male emotions, and if you're female, you're supposed to have and you're like, who categorized that? Yeah. It's like categorizing colors as having genders, to them, and the paucity of that.
Right.
And so, coming back, even giving yourself that permission to feel the emotions that you've been told all along, you're not supposed to go with those over there. That's a journey in and by itself of permission and allowing for a human to be brave enough to explore.
And I believe the more a person tries to push away an emotion, it's going to come back. It's not going anywhere. And it's going to come back stronger. You're like, I'll push it away. Next time, it's like, okay, you can push me away now, but now I'm coming back stronger next time. And that's it. And it just gets more and more. It builds up because your emotions will not, your feeling will not allow you to just continue to ignore them forever. So,
we always support that, what people refer to as an easy path to their knowing would be somebody who listens to the whispers before the wall falls on them.
Exactly. It's like, I told you so.
That's right.
Okay, now you got my attention. Exactly. And
do you find that with your continued journey into expansiveness and open-mindedness that you have extraordinary intuitive gifts that are developing and refining themselves for you?
Interesting. I'm not sure. You know what? I'm not sure. I just know that I always try to stay focused here and now. I try not to think about dwell on the past or even think about the now moment is where I know my point of power is. So I try to stay grounded in the now moment. And when I stay grounded, I become more aware of just little things, even nature. I love nature. I love being in nature. And it's very cold and icy here right now. We just had an ice storm and we're supposed to get another one tonight. So I'm hoping I have power tonight. I just look at the ice on the trees, and when the trees are all completely iced over, and for me, I find just being grounded in this now moment helps my awareness broaden, expand. And I love the word expand, because I wanted to share I forgot to share one thing with you. I also, when I launched this show, Awake to Oneness Radio, I also founded a nonprofit organization in Kyle's memory. It's the Kyle Foundation, but Kyle in capital letters stands for Keep Your Light Expanding.
Nice.
Yes.
So we love the ice storm thing, because no two ice crystals are the same.
Yes.
Isn't that remarkable? That's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, no two snowflakes are the same.
No.
And that's just like people.
Right. Right. And they grow and expand. Okay, so, metaphorically, everything, around, that shows up in your life, same thing with us, with the snow and stuff.
Yeah.
And like you said, to even just pause for a moment at some of those things that are around us that are just screaming at us, really. They're whispering at us, they're screaming at us or whatever.
Yes.
And it does help refine the what, appreciation for life, the appreciation for the way we thought.
When you start recognizing them,
Yes.
your life takes a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
When you start to recognize, when you pause, as she said, to even focus on now.
Yeah.
When you pause everything around you and focus on what's going on right now.
Yeah. So Kyle, of course, was deeply empathic. Did you recognize that about him?
Well, I didn't know that when he was in the physical, but another thing I want to share is when I was pregnant with Kyle, I did not have a boy's name. I knew I was, matter of fact, the ultrasound, it's the first time in my life I had an ultrasound. This is back in '84, where it wasn't done regularly. They only did it because they thought there might be a problem. So that's why they did the ultrasound. And I did not ask the ultrasound technician to tell me the sex of the child, but he said, if this is not a boy, I'll eat my hat. And my first thought was, did I ask you to tell me that? I didn't say it, I thought it. But anyway, so now I know I'm having a boy, or he's going to be eating his hat. Anyway, but I know I'm having a boy, and I didn't have a boy's name picked out. And I couldn't, so the name, and I know it was Kyle. Kyle gave me his name in a dream. He said, name me Kyle. I remember just bits and pieces of that name, but I woke up that dream, I woke up that morning knowing I was going to name him Kyle. And I didn't know a Kyle. I think it's an English name, but it's like, okay, it's not, and I believe that was the beginning, because he knew he wasn't going to be here that long. That was a soul agreement, and he knew I was going to use that name. Kyle, keep your light expanding. I think that all started before his birth.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you find him sensitive as a child?
Oh, very. He was. He's very, very sensitive. Very sensitive. Yes.
Yeah. The heartache of the self-judgment that he felt from everybody else. That wasn't his judgment onto everybody else, but he could feel other people's judgment is the development of the weakness, for him. Common with empathics on the earth, but they are an extraordinary gift in life.
Yeah.
Brad is extremely empathic, and you've been empathic a good portion of your life, but even more so since your accident.
Yeah, I forgot, through the training of religion and societies that we embed ourselves in, I was taught to not recognize and not listen to the way I felt, or listen to
that was the devil talking to you.
I used to be very active in a church, non-denominational church. Actually, it was had a denomination. I thought when I joined it, I thought it was non-denominational. But I remember clearly them being told not to rely on your feelings. That feelings were a bad thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only way that the devil or Satan can take control of you, is through your thoughts and through your deeds and through your actions. And boy, is that a great way to just stifle that in people's lives.
Would you say that was one of your challenges in coming out of your near-death experience? And one of the things that we would also love for you to tell everybody is how profoundly emotional the experience was.
Well, I've always known, whether people were telling me or not, I always had my emotions have always been very close to the surface. And there would be times when my emotions would override a situation, and I would literally start crying or choked up to the point to where I couldn't even really talk. And being told that was not a man manly way of expressing yourself to others that is not correct. And so after experiencing my near-death experience and them explaining to me that one of my gifts that I had brought with me was the fact that I was so emotional and could recognize my emotions because my emotions are my truth. That if you don't listen to your emotions, then you're denying yourself the truth. And that has always stuck with me, because when people would tell me, oh, you didn't experience that, or there's no way that's what was told to you because that goes contrary to what everybody else talks about, then I can honestly stand back and look people square in the eye and I can say, my truth is my truth and your truth is your truth. And if you do not stand up for what you believe is your truth, then you are not being true to yourself. And I would rather be true to myself, because then I could never deny the fact that I stood up for what I knew was true. And I'm not going to lie to myself because you believe that I think differently or I believe differently, because my truth is my truth. And that is what makes me a strong human being. And people don't know how to answer that.
Was that hard for you to come back into alignment with all of your emotions?
It took a long time for me to even accept that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with Julius's help, I've been able to build myself up and become strong and recognize that. And of course, a lot of people in my life who I thought were the important people that were in my life, boy, they sure fled.
I know what
Did you scare the hell out of
You're
them?
crazy, man. You're crazy. And
well,
so
yes.
It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. And that's what I've told everybody is it's okay. I apparently I didn't really need them in my life because they decided to leave, not me. I'm still who I am. You just can't accept who I am because I don't meet your criteria as to who I should be. And so I try to tell people, you be who you want to be, and you live with the consequences. Because if you're trying to live up to everybody else's consequences, you're never going to get anywhere.
Right.
And I believe honestly and with my whole heart that if more human beings actually stood up for who they were, that this world would be completely different.
Oh yeah, it would be heaven on earth.
Yes.
Everybody lived their truth. And again, your truth and another person's truth doesn't have to be the same. We can still love and respect.
That's exactly right.
You don't have to try to, when you're trying to force your truth onto someone else, that's not living your truth. That's not really, if you feel you have to force it on somebody else, that means you don't believe it yourself.
Right.
Exactly. So it's fine to allow everybody to live their truth. And they don't have to be same truth. And there is no right and wrong.
No, that's an interesting concept as our students and people allow themselves to possibly look at that being a truth.
Yes. Yeah.
And having that, because if they can integrate themselves into that possibility, it dissolves all judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what oneness is, non-judgment. And here's what I use to when I say there's no right and wrong, and what I use as a visual is the yin and yang symbol. The yin and yang symbol represents God, all that is, and it's equally light and equally dark. Now, spiritual people want to think it's just all light. No. Okay. Did you look at the yin and yang symbol? That is an image of God. God is equally, and God, and I'm using the term God because that's what people recognize. It's all that is. All that is loves.
It's everything. Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Equally.
Yeah.
So there is no right or wrong. There
Right.
just is.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the
Just-
issue.
But getting back, of course, like you said, to the forceful aspect of opinion onto another. Just, I get this visual in my head of, mom trying to force feed you, cod liver oil, and you've got your mouth shut and your throat is closing itself off, everything energetically resistant versus
Right.
the bakery down the street who at 4 a.m. just opens their windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just the wafting, and everybody's like, they come into the bakery. And I liken that to when you live an authentic life, you secrete the energy of joy, okay? And everybody wants some.
Yes.
They want some.
Yes.
What are you doing to be this joyful in your life? Well, I'm finding authenticity with myself. I'm listening to and they're like, really? Well, how do you do that? Show us how to do that, rather than, this is what you have to do to be joyful in your life. It's just a whole different, it's not just a different presentation, it's a different perception.
Yeah, how many times have we gone somewhere and somebody will say, what is it about you guys?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? And then the minute we start explaining to them what it is that we do, oh, no. I can't.
Well,
But you asked.
yeah.
You asked what it is. Why?
Yes.
Why is there a beaming grin on our face?
Yes.
We're experiencing it all.
Yes.
And the minute you don't want to hear what it is that we're experiencing,
Yes.
it's taboo.
Well, they don't usually do that, though. Usually they're pretty interested in kind of the broad-minded concepts. But it can be a challenge. For another really great interesting topic, I think point of discussion, if we can allow this, Caroline.
I want to, before I forget it, I just want to address what Brad had said about the friends that he had before. Yeah.
Okay.
I have very few close friends, but I had one particular close friend who was like a brother to me. He was like a big brother to me. And we had met in church, and he was just, for 15 years, he was very, very, we talked almost every other day. We could talk about anything. And I did talk about oneness a lot to him. He's very fundamental Christian, but I was able to talk about oneness to him until I launched my show. Wow. And even before I aired the first show, I told him I was lining up guests. And one of my guests was a channel. And when I said channel, he's like, I'm done. Because I was like a total taboo, no. As soon as I said channel, I'm done. And he was really done with me. Because I said I was having a channel on my show as a guest. And so last 4 years, I occasionally will call him or wish him happy birthday and tell him how much I still love him, but he wants nothing to do with me.
Yeah, and for you, it's mostly all of your family members that ran.
Yeah, close family.
Because of the religion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it is.
I at some point the realization came to me that they don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay?
They choose to stay asleep. And
and that's not
wake up.
Right.
Yeah.
I may use the analogy turning the light on in the room.
Right.
they decide to just roll back over and cover up their heads.
It's like, I'm not ready to wake up.
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah.
you know what? I say namaste to
Yeah.
all those who are not ready to wake up. Like, I want to sleep some more. It's okay. Because in truth, we're all divine aspects of God. And if you want to stay asleep a little longer, hey, sleep. I'm getting up at 6 a.m. I'm running. I'm going to run. You sleep, you know, you keep on sleeping.
And there was a point where I said to myself, wow, thank you for being a blatant demonstration to myself of being able to recognize and see just who I was prior to being who I am now. And I can actually recognize and see how far I have come and progressed and expanded throughout my whole experience. And you have demonstrated this to me without you even knowing that you've been that demonstration. So thank you. Thank you so much. And they just look at you like, what?
I did that too. You know what? I did that too. When I was okay, because oneness is unconditional love, unconditional acceptance, unconditional forgiveness, and unconditional allowing a person to be who they are. And I understood when I was working on unconditional forgiveness, I wrote a list of all the people I thought had hurt me, because they didn't hurt me. It's me doing it to me.
That's right.
I wrote a list, and some of them I got thank you cards. Some of them I actually mailed, and I just said, thank you for being you.
That's right.
Amazing. Thank you for being you. So all the people, it wasn't a long list, but all the people I felt had hurt me in my past, I wrote them a thank you card. Some of those actually got mailed. Some of them, I just wrote the card, but it was an exercise in unconditional forgiveness and understanding it wasn't them. It was all coming from me.
Yeah, yeah. And Julius teaches that every sentient being, every soul plays their role perfectly for their own expansion and others' expansion. It's once you take the judgment of the experience out of it and choose, you choose to see the expandability in it. You choose to accept the expandability. You choose to walk through that aspect of it rather than the limitation of it. There's always expansion in an experience, which also helps you get through the theory that there's no right or wrong.
Right.
Everything's expandable.
It's not this or that. It's this and that. That's why there is no right or wrong. It's all neutral. Everything is neutral. It's how we choose to label it.
Right. So what's interesting, I know that for my own self, in my experiences in my life, when somebody has passed and then I get communication from them, when we're physical, we have usually a very strong indication, of course, of the interpretation of male and female.
Right.
Although we support that souls don't have genders, just costumes that you wear, have a tendency to do that. With Kyle going non-physical, do you perceive him very differently than the first impression of the male configuration for him?
No, I conceive him as himself, like as I knew him. Even in the first reading, he said that because in his later 20s, from 26 to 29, he was very ill. In his early 20s, he was very healthy and active. He played football in high school. Up until he was 26 years old, he was as active as you can be. Didn't live a healthy lifestyle, didn't eat healthy, started to smoke, picked up smoking from peer pressure and all that, but he was very active. So in that reading, he said that he is now feeling like he felt when he was in his early 20s. Mm-hmm. So I still picture him like he was here in the physical in his early 20s.
Right. And does he still appear kind of that age to you, or is that kind of dissolved just into an innate wisdom, interaction with him?
I think an innate wisdom interaction with him. Yes.
Yeah. And because Julius, of course, supports that old and young is an illusion also.
Yes.
And if we can reach, and for many people that's a type of a prejudice, okay, because and to dissolve that perception from somebody, okay, making your communication relatable to what they can accept, but not referencing that in age, but more of based on experience and the capacity to process emotions and stuff with another.
Right. Yes.
And how that broadens the human experience. If you can get to that broader, everything's about broadening your perspective.
Right.
For everything. We just recently, just right before this transmission, we hosted a show, and we had a woman on who's had 4 near-death experiences.
Wow.
And one of the things that we talked to her about was, as her energy was leaving her physical body, how she was able to see everything. Okay, where from the physical perspective, you know, I can see my car over there, or this tree over there, or can't quite see that bird over there. But somehow all she had to do was think, and she could bring an image to her, which was an indication to her that she'd gone non-physical out of her body, realizing in that moment the limitations of the physical body and what we can see and what we can perceive.
Yes, and our human body is so limited. I mean, what we can see and hear and touch and taste, it's so limited. And science has proven this. I always go back to science with my listeners, because science has proven that the human body can only detect maybe, I mean, I'm going to put it in 0.00009% of what is out there, because their instruments can detect all this, but our body can't. And so for a person to say, I only believe in what I can see and hear, I'm like, okay, so that you're literally saying, I only believe in 0.00009% of what is actually out there.
Right. I choose ignorance. I just choose ignorance.
You know, we always try to, we've explained to our students that there's more going on in the empty space that surrounds you than you are even aware or could comprehend. You know, and some people will have that stare, that look like, what are you talking about? But for those people who become aware, you realize that everything that is going on around you is for your benefit.
And an extension of you.
And an extension.
Yes. Because it all goes to, it is all one. Just, we are all God having a unique experience. And that's why actually 2 people can agree on some things, but 2 people can never be identical.
No.
We are seeing from different vantage points. We are God seeing the reality from different points of view. So we can never agree 1,000 or 100% on anything, because we're unique aspects of God.
And Julius says that God doesn't need to repeat itself. You know, it just it gets it does all the variables once. So thank you for saying that, because that's a big supportive aspect.
That is a big supportive aspect of it all.
So that's how, when you awaken and understand that other, even if you don't agree on anything, that other is an aspect of God, and you can honor him or her just for their divineness. That's what namaste means. I bow to the divinity within you, knowing that everyone has divinity in them. They're not separate. No one is separate from the oneness. No one is separate from God. No one is separate from us.
Right.
And it is a play of our own creation. And I like to interject that to the listeners. We are creating it. No one is doing it to us.
That's right.
Yes.
Isn't that great news?
Yes.
We tell everybody that's the best news that we could tell you, because then you can change. You're the one that has the power to make the changes in your life. After they're pissed off about not being able to blame something, okay? And then they have to go, oh my God, I'm the dunce of the universe for doing this to myself. And we're like, no. That's just been your limited perception. Now, if you have this broader perception, that's where you will get, the superpowers, coming out in you.
Yes.
And know that it's all about what you just can accept. So broaden your acceptance and your possibilities.
Right. And understand that it is a play, a movie of our own creation. And the only thing real is the experience of it. It is important, and it's for our soul's growth. It's for our soul's expansion, and our higher self that knows all.
Right.
Plan this. We don't know exactly from our human perspective. From our human perspective, we don't know why, but our higher self knows. And we're not disconnected. We're connected to our higher self, and our higher self knows exactly why we chose, exactly why we're going through what we're going through. And our toughest, our hardest challenges are our biggest blessings.
Yeah.
And that we don't understand in our humanness. We
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah, we call that the perspective of the altered ego versus the soul. The altered ego is attached to the limitations of the physical.
Yes.
And the soul reaches beyond the parameters of all limitations.
Yes.
And even if you get that a little bit in your life, even if you just apply that theory occasionally, your life will change.
Exactly.
The more you apply it, the more changes, the more possibilities that occur. But one of the things that we tell everybody is the best thing about a conscious journey, a journey into enlightenment or knowing yourself,
Yes.
is every single tiny step of the way reaps extraordinary changes in your life. You don't have to wait until you're the absolute master of the 6th level of consciousness before your life unfolds before you. So number one, you have nothing to lose, literally. It's all gain. It's all gain, okay? Yeah. And then it also helps to kind of take or drop the arduous perspective out of it. Oh, God, this is going to be too hard to do it this way and to be awake all the time and to be thinking about your thoughts all the time. We're like, just do it occasionally. And you're going to see the unleashment of yourself come out.
Something else that just popped into my mind was the judgment aspect.
Yes.
How hard human beings are on themselves.
Yeah.
And we try to explain continually judgment itself as a human, that's 90% of everything you do in your life is a judgment.
Well, it's the binding effect
and it's what binds you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if we can actually get you not judging.
Yeah. Right. We've given you the key to the prison.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Give you the key to the prison, which is
right.
But you can be the key master.
And the other thing, when you were talking about the age, old and young and that, in truth, time is an illusion. There is no time in spirit. None at all. And time, and I love Einstein, time is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. We use time in this realm as a tool, but time does not exist. So in truth, and it's just a very small part of us that is here. If the larger part of us is still spiritual, is still in the spirit realm. So when we understand that the now is, I like to say, the now is your point of power. Don't worry about what you did a moment ago. Don't worry about the moment to come. Focus on this now moment. This is your point of power. And that's when you ground yourself in this now moment, that is when your expansion begins and you become more aware. So do that in every now moment. There's no need to beat up on yourself, and there's no need to, I say worry is just when you put your attention on something, you call it to you. So if you're worrying, you're actually praying for what you don't want to happen.
Right.
So, yeah. Right. So only focus on the things you want to happen, and then stay grounded in the now moment and let that expansion and awareness in that now moment. And there's so much to be thankful for. That's the thing. Also, attitude of gratitude in every now moment. Like I made that promise that I would never stop thanking God for that miracle I experienced in December of 2011. Right. And even when my son transitioned, I was still thanking God in that moment. because I understand. I saw it from the mountaintop, from a broader. I look at everything now from a spiritual perspective, and not the limited human perspective. It's so limited.
I also love Albert Einstein's quote of the more he experiences science, the more he believes in spirituality.
Yes.
So and that's a great lesson straight across the board for all of the extremities on one side of the theory or the other.
Yes.
Is that everything, even those polarity theories, are interconnected. So we should at least be able to step into that space, right?
Very, very true. Very true. I will please share with our listeners how they can follow you. Please share all your wonderful ways they can connect with you guys.
Thanks. Well, we have two massive websites. One is expandwithjulius.com. The other is kaseyandbrad.com. And on both of those websites, you will see the multiplicities of the things that we do, from our healing workshops to our retreats, to our network, to our teachings, to our academy, to our series, television series that runs where we communicate with ghosts in the Caribbean. That's a fun series. And what else? Facebook.
Yeah.
YouTube,
Yeah.
Expand with Julius on those things.
Yeah.
Like and follow and subscribe to those pages, and you'll be able to see a lot of our live streaming.
We have a lot of programs.
Yeah. You also have a free gift for our listeners.
Yeah.
Oneness Radio listeners, there will be a link to a free gift from Brad and Kasey from Julius.
Yeah. You'll get one of Julius's downloads, one of their teachings. Get everybody
a full teaching.
Yeah, get everybody a little snippet into their energy, and blessings to everybody on their extraordinary path. Caroline, we've just been so honored. It's just like we just had such a great cup of coffee with you.
Yeah.
You need to come to Southern Utah and sit and visit at the facility with us.
I would love to. I love to. Hey, I'll be there. Sometime this year, 2019, New Year.
Right.
Definitely.
Come out and we'll take you to some of our favorite spots in the national parks that have natural vortexes.
Wow.
And you feel the energy and feel all the different movements going on within the earth.
Yeah. And we want to thank your listeners for spending this time, because we know everybody's time is very valuable to them. Yeah. We love you and honor you. Thank you.
Thank you for
having coffee with us.
Yes, thank you. It has been a great cup of coffee. I love this. And like I said, I say I don't have to do drugs, because I get a high every time I do a show. I'm like on a natural high for hours after this. So it is great. Thank you so much. And I definitely we'll keep connected, and I definitely would love to visit Utah. Thank you.
Okay.
Love and light so much. And Julius, which is a collective consciousness. Thank you.